Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, May 24, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I really appreciate the fact that you got my video from yesterday up to 200 likes. Even although I asked for 100 likes, continue to do what you're doing. Feel free to like this video as you please, share it with your friends, your relatives, your church brethren, whoever it may be, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Also, leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like here recently. Feel free to also ask any other related question that you might have about the future, though they're in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this tweet by Michael Fisher. He's actually a scientist at the University of Miami, and from time to time he makes some accurate posts about the Atlantic hurricane season, and we can see that in his latest post that he made today at 10:39 a.m. He stated, "I know it's May, but the tropical wave along 55 West is interesting. The 6Z GFS brings the wave axis, seen in the TPW loop here, west and stalls the wave in the Western Caribbean, ultimately leading to TC genesis, that's tropical cyclogenesis. Although it seems unlikely to verify, it's something to watch." So he's basically referring to this tropical wave right here to the east of Trinidad and Tobago. It's definitely bringing some amount of cloud showers and thunderstorms to sections of French Guiana, Suriname, and Guyana as we speak. And the latest ASCAT pass that shows the wind barbs and so on at the lower levels of the atmosphere actually show that there's some turning, some twisting going on regarding the low level flow, so there might be some kind of a circulation within there. And if we even take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can actually see the spinning. We've been watching this tropical wave. It's actually the first tropical wave of the season, and it is quite impressive for May. And we can see that although the circulation is there, most of the thunderstorms associated with it seems to be on the south side. But what Michael is stating in his post is that this system is expected to make it into the Western Caribbean right here and possibly develop. That's according to some of the models. I'll actually be showing you what the models are forecasting. But this is what he showed, talking about the tropical wave being pushed from east to west, and we can see all of the bluish colors associated with the moisture that's expected to bring. And then we even see a red L somewhere along there, so maybe an airflow pressure starting to form. We shall see exactly what unfolds. Either way, if we take a look at what the Euromals and the GFS mal are showing, and by the way, let me highlight these years. These are the years that we must watch. So the time period, so we're going to be going out to the next 168 hours. And we're going to be keeping our focus right here from where the tropical wave is located right here and where it goes at the end of the run. So this is the Euro model. So let's begin. So we're going out 168 hours, and we're starting to see that yes, we're starting to get somewhat of moisture across portions of the southwestern Caribbean right there, associated with the tropical wave. So at least we're passing 168. We're at 168 now. So you see that there's an increase in the amount of grains that represent rainfall across sections of the central and southwestern Caribbean by that time. What does the GFS model show for the same time period? So we're seeing what that tropical wave is doing, pushing from east to west, making it into the Caribbean. Then it should be right here to the far south of Jamaica by Wednesday. And we see that it's definitely stalling. And this is the 18Z. The 6Z run is what he was referring to. So there might be some differences as usual. But we're just going to stop right here at 168 hours, because that's the thing about these malls. They're always showing something different with each run. So at least we see the consensus in the fact that there's going to be some amount of increase in moisture across the waters to the south of Jamaica. It's going to be interesting to see if the U.S. National Hurricane Center highlights anything to put on their page. You know, once they highlight a code yellow, that has a low percent chance. We know that this thing is actually, possibly for real, but for right now, nothing more than some rainfall. Even although the GFS and the Euro model are showing something out in time, we don't want to go too far out past 7 days at all. Alright, so let us take a look at another post that was made here on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. Keep in mind that this post wasn't only made on our Twitter page, but our Instagram page at Weather.Jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So, this post actually stated experts from the U.S. National Hurricane Center say 2024 could break records for tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic Basin. With the Caribbean as a hotspot, Jamaica may see excessive rainfall surpassing 2005, 2007, 2010, or 2017 totals as shown in the bar graph below. And this is what we're talking about. We're looking at this bar graph. Let me make it bigger. So, right here, we can see that all of this is from 1988 up to 2022. It's showing all the rainfall that we got in millimeters. The highest point right here, at least 3.1 K, that's at least 3,000 millimeters. And we see that the year that had the most in the way of rainfall for the last, 2 decades is 2010. Remember 2005 with all of those storms. We had, what, Dennis, Emily, if we remember all of those, there were many storms in 2005, and they contributed to the amount of rainfall that Jamaica got. 2007, we remember we got Hurricane Dean, and we got a lot of other maybe tropical waves or disturbances that caused a lot of rainfall that year. 2010, I wonder if you guys remember, we had Tropical Storm Nicole. Actually had a week of rainfall back then, lots of flooding taking place. If you actually remember, 2011 as well, that was another La Nina year, and we got a lot of rainfall. That was what prompted the flooding up into northern portion of St. Thomas, that caused that viral sensation, that Cliff Tongue guy, but nobody cannot cross it. 2012 we had Sunday. Then moving over to 2017, you remember how active that year was, but we had a lot of rainfall that year. I remember a lot of rainfall in my portion of Jamaica as well as in Kingston. And then 2020 right here, we remember how active that year was in terms of storms, and we got a lot of rainfall, all courtesy of the outer bands of numerous systems. So it's gonna be interesting to see exactly what unfolds this year, especially with what the Hurricane Center has forecasted in terms of the tropical cyclone activity that is expected. Alright, so let's just take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by ridges of high pressure that we know are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see the tropical wave right here to the east of Trinidad and Tobago, and we can still see the trough that we've been watching for the past week, still right there situated to the north of Hispaniola. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with the trough. We can also see some amount of clouds plaguing sections of the central to eastern Caribbean right here, some low level clouds, as well as the tropical wave that we mentioned definitely brings some amount of cloud showers and thunderstorms to section of northeastern South America as we speak, and all of this is pushing westward. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today. So if you remember yesterday's video, we highlighted the fact that if we were going to receive rainfall on Friday, it would have been across sections of some northern parishes. And northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. And what ended up happening, a post was made on our Twitter page at 3:06 p.m. highlighting the visible satellite image. We saw some amount of clouds bring overcast skies and some isolated showers to sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, sections of St. James, maybe sections of Hanover, and northern St. Elizabeth got in on some of the action as well. Then by 4:45 p.m., the well, the visible satellite images were posted this time, and some of these clouds from the north started to spill into sections of some southern parishes. So I guess we could say it was more confined to sections of some central and western parishes, and we definitely saw those sparkling yellow dots that we know indicate some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we definitely had that thunderstorm activity across sections of southern St. and northern Clarendon right there. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see here we had those clouds. We definitely had that flow from the north and that flow from the south, and then all of that air piled up across especially inland areas of the island. And then, as you can see, by the time the sun was about to go down, we're starting to see most of these clouds dissipating for the most part, but there were still some leftover clouds, which means that it could be lingering still with some rainfall in some areas. As it relates to the latest infrared satellite images, we can see that yes, we did indeed have that thunderstorm activity, those cumulonimbus clouds that we know are represented by these blues, greens, yellows, oranges, and we saw that the upper level wind shear was pushing all of that off towards the east, just as predicted in yesterday's video. But as you can see, by the time this video is being recorded, majority of these clouds have dissipated. Taking a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we do see some spots of greens that represent some isolated showers, mainly across sections of some of the southern portion of the island, so sections of Clarendon, section of southern Manchester, section of southern St. Elizabeth. But that's basically it. Nowhere else getting any rainfall at this time. As it relates to the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, and we see Jamaica embedded in some yellows and some slight orange colors that represent 1 to even 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of May are about the same as 89 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 89 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 31 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 30 at least 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Saturday. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we see right here Jamaica is starting to get in on some amount of dry air as represented by those yellows. Most of the moist air associated with the trough starting to veer off more so towards the east of the island, but that could come back eventually with all of the easterly flow that we've been receiving. So dry air for now, but for how long will it last? Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Saturday, you can see this map making the forecast here, and majority of the Caribbean including Jamaica right here should be in the clear, as most of the dust that we've been receiving has dwindled. But as we can see, there's definitely a lot more Saharan dust where that came from, definitely stretching across the main development region, and we know the trade winds are going to be pushing all of this west. We just hope that by the time it gets here, most of it starts to, dwindle or dissipate. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are in consensus that we're going to be receiving those lighter shades of blues to at least some slight dark shades of blues that represent anywhere from 0 to 0.5 for meter wave heights, at least up to a meter wave height. The highest wave heights on the southeastern portion of the island, and that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all. And with the lack of strong winds, we know that the temperatures are going to feel warmer than normal. As we can see here, most of them do have those bluish greens that represent anywhere from 5 to 10 knot winds, and we can see that for the most part the wind should be coming in from the east, curving downward across the northern portion of the island, coming in from the east, curving upward across the southern portion of the island. So as we could say, some northeasterly flow on the north central portion of the island, some southeasterly flow on the south central portion of the island, and we can clearly see that the air is going to be piling up across sections of some central and western parishes. So we're going to be having those darker shades of blues, so those cumulus clouds might become mid-level clouds, if not cumulonimbus clouds again, bringing some amount of rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. And with the upper level wind still coming in from the west for tomorrow's forecast, you might see something similar to what happened today. If we get some thunderstorms, those high cold cloud tops are going to be blown off towards the east. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from GFS are both showing the rainfall at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. And where do we see the blues that represent rainfall? Across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes according to the Euro. GFS showing something similar, more so across inland areas of some central and western parishes. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, there's some amount of consensus even later on as well. This map from the GFS showing 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is actually 4 p.m. Jamaica time. And we see much of the same blues that represent rainfall across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes. So we know that when we're talking about eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica, let me pull these maps up quickly. We're talking about Surrey, Middlesex, and Cornwall. When we're talking about eastern parishes, Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrews, Central parishes, we're talking about St. Anne, St. Mary, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, while Western parishes, we're talking about St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. So, according to these maps, some rainfall definitely expected somewhere in those parishes for tomorrow, and the accumulated precipitation forecast maps confirm this, bringing more of the rainfall across sections of some central and eastern parishes on the GFS as well as on the Euro. Just some slight grains right here across the western portion of the island on the Euro model. As it relates to the rainfall totals now, Euro showing up to at least 0.23 of an inch of rainfall, GFS showing up to at least 0.24 of an inch of rainfall across the north central portion of the island, and at least 0.25 of an inch of rainfall on the northeastern portion of the island. Either way, we're going to be receiving rainfall. We're in the month of May. We usually receive up to 213.05 millimeters of rainfall during this month. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have this tropical wave that we're keeping our eye on. We see the spin associated with it curving around, and with the thunderstorm activity definitely brings some amount of showers to sections of Suriname, French Guiana, and Guyana as we speak. Section of northwestern Venezuela getting into some thunderstorm activity. Colombia as well. Panama, Costa Rica as usual. And we can see some amount of rainfall still plaguing sections of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico associated with the trough. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we can actually see where we're getting that rainfall right now. Sections of the waters to the east of Guadeloupe, section of St. John's, Antigua getting in on somewhat of isolated heat or mist showers. Section of Puerto Rico getting some rainfall right now. A section of San Juan, section of southwestern Puerto Rico definitely getting in on some heavy rainfall, as we can see by these yellows and oranges as we see there. And even if we load these images from earlier today, we're gonna be seeing where we had that rainfall, that line of showers right there across section of the eastern portion of the Dominican Republic. And we can also see that we definitely had some intermittent showers across sections of Guadeloupe as well, sections of maybe the western portion of Puerto Rico definitely got some heavy rainfall. Not seeing much across St. Martin or the US and British Virgin Islands at all. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see that Barbados is definitely in the clear for the most part. Maybe some sprinkles coming in from the east. Well, we can see some rainfall right there to the north of Barbados, definitely pushing from east to west, maybe to affect sections of Martinique, if not Dominica later on tonight into tomorrow. If we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see all of that rainfall associated with the tropical wave affecting sections of French Guiana, soon to be Suriname. Are definitely going to be plagued within the next 24 hours with all of that rainfall, and some amount of flash flooding could definitely be possible in some spots. You can also see that rainfall across sections of Colombia as well. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18 on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, And we do see the yellows, the oranges that we know represent some amount of above normal temperatures. But we see the most in the way of above normal temperatures should be affecting sections of the United States, especially right here across the Central America region. If we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Saturday, we do see that majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear as well as the Gulf of Mexico, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust that was here has now dissipated. But we can see that the Saharan dust is right there across the main development region. And all of this is definitely pushing from east to west. We just hope that by the time it gets to the Caribbean, it has dwindled or dissipated a lot. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that for the most part, we have a mixture of those lighter shades of blues and those darker shades of blues that we know represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's what's going to be plaguing the Caribbean for tomorrow. And that's because we have a mixture of those bluish greens and those greens that we know represent anywhere from 5 to 10 knots, maybe even gusting to 15 knots. And we see the general direction from both the Euro and the GFS malls, from the eastern to the central Caribbean, from the east as well as across the western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico as well. But let's get down to the meat of the matter. Where do we see rainfall within the next 24 hours? This map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. And we're seeing that there's going to be some isolated showers affecting sections of southeastern Cuba right here, sections of Jamaica, just like how we stated earlier, sections of Haiti and the Dominican Republic especially, section of Puerto Rico, some isolated showers for Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados getting in on the action. We also see some amount of rainfall for sections of French Guiana, Suriname, sections of Guyana, Venezuela, Panama, Costa Rica, sections of Nicaragua, southern Honduras, and El Salvador. And the thing is, we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus with this, and the fact that they're in consensus with this just increases the chances of it actually happening. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.